here as well. And for those of you on YouTube, thanks so much for joining. Let me correct your vantage point there, which is good. And for those of you on Instagram, if you don't follow me on YouTube, please go on Bisimoto, Bisimoto, and follow accordingly. Hit the subscribe button. And for those of you listening on the podcast networks, thank you so much for joining me. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you guys are doing fantastic in this somewhat overcast afternoon in Southern California. Senpai to you as well, Tokista. Hopefully you're doing great. And those of you on YouTube, thank you so much for joining this live opportunity as well. And feel free to ask any questions. I'm here to give back and provide an information that I needed when I was younger, being that person I needed when I first came to the United States, when no one wanted to help me with cars or car knowledge. So I'm here to provide everything I know, no matter what. And I think there's a question, what year is my CRX? Well, the CRX I raced was an 88 HF. This, on the other hand, is an 89 Civic wagon with a K-Series K24 power plant, turbocharged with a sequential 5-speed transmission. So it's a lot of fun. You can just pull the gears. If you go on YouTube, you may see some of the pictures or videos that I've had driving this around in Mexico, which is pretty cool, right? Where's the F22 Honda, says Ramirez Karim from YouTube Live. The F22 Honda, it's right in the corner. It's kind of far over there. The inside is right there, chilling, get a little dusty. Thank you for joining all the way from Puerto Rico, Felix Fernandez. So thank you so much for joining. And hopefully you guys on Instagram, I got a new device for my interaction with you. Hopefully you can hear me clearly. And if you do, please let me know. Love you as well, Posthuman42. Thanks for the support and the kind words. Toki Star said he's here for the no soul comments, which I get a lot. And we're gonna jump into that and talk about that quite a bit. Alwar Berigal, things are well. Thank you so much for asking. Hello to you. Greetings, Ashin Campbell. Let me know if you hear me properly because I got all new equipment just to be able to do this properly. Okay, do you still build Cersei Caymans? Asked Chew Review 76. Yes, I do. In the event that you need one, let me know. The team and I can put one together, whether it's petrol, electric, we have you covered. Hello, CMT Honda. When we're gonna start building EF chassis again, whenever a client comes through. I have mine right here, alive in the flesh. Let's see, B. Thao from YouTube. Once I get a client to do it, I'll do it. But I have mine. My EE is right there in the flesh. Omnipotent One says, salutes from New York City. I missed the Turbo Odyssey. Do you still have it? I do. It's actually in front of my garage at home. I took the kids this weekend to a nice event from the residents. So I do have it, which is very nice indeed, you know? Are you gonna update Stitch for Outlook category? Felix, I'm doing something a little different. All motor, but really powerful one. So it's gonna get updates, technology updates coming very, very soon. Let's see here. Thoughts on aluminum bus bars for EV builds? Obviously very thick, copper from cut sand, it's 4 times the cost. I have used thick aluminum bus bars with success. And one thing is that I used, because you know this Corvolt. By the way, Corvolt is a great guy, fellow engineer, loves EV stuff. I do, whenever it calls for, use my BMS to put in resistance values so that my cell balancing can be proper. So I have done aluminum bus bars without qualm, and I have no challenge whatsoever. And yes, they do have to be much thicker. I love Honda, says CMT Honda. By that name, I can tell. How's the K3V Porsche? Asked Alwar Berry Guy. My goodness, it's at the Peterson on display until May next year. So that being said, I miss it so much. It's really the vehicle that got me into this. And for those of you who were asking questions, I think one of you came in saying you're here for the no soul comments. I get it. I spoke to one of my friends this morning. Patrick is one of the founders of PRL. For your Honda heads, you guys have heard of PRL and how awesome it is as a company. And they did so much with 9th gen Civics, 8th gen Civics, 10th gen Civics, started jumping to the newer stuff. And Patrick and I had a good discussion about EVs. And his first experience from an EV perspective was with a all-wheel drive Model 3. And he had very lukewarm experiences with that. And that's where my, I guess, advantage came from, that I never drove a Leaf or a Model 3 or a Model Y or something that was just not very exciting. My first experience with an electric vehicle was my K3V. It was a 600 plus horsepower Kremer K3, wonderful Tribute 935, and it was just absolutely spectacular. My first experience was just mind-blowing. So I overnight became a huge advocate of performance EVs. And for those who say I have no soul, I used to say the same thing, not because I had experience with any other electric vehicles, but because my friends, my customers would tell me it has no soul. People were in my ear telling me all this stuff, and I believed it, and I just regurgitated what I heard. And then now I have had more experience with different EVs. Those are not performance oriented. I get it. It's like, it's akin to judging performance cars, fun cars with a Mitsubishi Colt, a bone stock Mitsubishi Colt, or an early base Nissan Sentra, or let's say, just a Lada or a Skoda, or even just think of the most boring four-banger eco-box you can think of, and that's all you know about petrol cars. You'll think they're rubbish, right? But you have the opportunity to drive something cool like an S2000 or an NSX, or a Porsche Turbo 911, like 991 Turbo, or you do something really exciting with a boosted C8. You're like, oh my God, petrol cars are great. Well, the same thing happens with EVs. You drive a proper EV, and that being said, you have the opportunity to experience a different type of propulsion that's really fast. And today, earlier on, I posted the Plaid that I've been taking to the track, and that thing is absolutely fantastic. It's fast, a little disconnected from the tarmac because it's a factory car that should appeal to mass audiences. But you see that red one right there? There's a good friend of ours, Jeremy. He's Huckleberry Finn here, which is pretty cool. That thing is going to be a monster when it's done. It will feel like a classic 930 when you sit in the car. It smells like a classic 930 when you sit in it. But when you get on the accelerator pedal, it is unlike anything you've ever experienced. And because of the absence of a droning air-cooled power plant, you have this supercharged whine emanating from the rear, and you get more feedback from the tires, and you hear the pebbles hitting the fender work. And then you have this just rush of acceleration. And when you get on the brakes, you have more brake feedback. All your senses are heightened with a performance EV. So you get to eat your cake and have it too. And you have all the torque, which is amazing. It took me a while to be able to tune into my AEM VC200, the ability not to snap axles at will, you know? So that being said, it's a lot of fun. John Demonda says, EVs are cool, but not my cup of tea. I hear you. John, I was that same place a few short 5 years ago. And I was viciously and very vocal of how I was against EVs because I just didn't have the experience until I built mine, until I drove a performance EV. I have mad respect for them, and it's a lot of fun. And in California, it's getting tougher and tougher for us anyway to do crazy things with petrol in the first place. I also am not a big fan of the compounds that come from the combustion of fossil fuels. The fact it's not renewable is not a big, advantage for me. At my residence, I do have solar, so it helps me a ton. And fuel is actually quite crazy here, but above and beyond that, I'm an enthusiast first, and EVs are fast. They are amazing indeed. Best of all-wheel drive, here's CMT Honda. Yep, that's what this is. That's an all-wheel drive. I actually took a CRV setup and put in there, Sound is perfect, thank you. So Kavod, we had a bit of a discussion going back and forth with sound. Do you know what I had to do to make this proper? My phone. I had to upgrade my phone from the 12 Plus I had to a 15. I just changed my equipment and everything is good. So Ashton Campbell, thank you so much. It's very clear, appreciate that. And had to get another device just to be able to interact with everyone who's on YouTube live as well, which is pretty cool. What does Bisimoto have lined up for SEMA? Says Motec N. Hello, Motec N, who, by the way, check Motec N's page out. This chap, his car is gorgeous. My son, Kobe Mde, loves his car better than anything I have here, which is pretty bananas, but he's a great guy and a very talented builder. So far for SEMA, the Mobi's going back in a new guise, which is pretty cool. Some nice updates to that as well. You guys may have seen lurking in the Bisimoto stable this beautiful Type 1 classic Volkswagen bus that's going to SEMA as well. For you petrol heads, I have something also very, amazing for you. I have a C6 Corvette Turbo that I'm building with my good friend who I call Dad, Carlos Alamar. I call him Dad because we did a film together. He played my father in the film, so I call him Dad ever since then, even though I do senior him, I believe. Anyway, nonetheless, those are the 3 cars we have going right now. We have a couple of the ones I can't quite release yet, but as we get closer to SEMA, I'll give you a little more hints and little teases. How does that sound? Thank you so much, Leviticus. I appreciate that indeed. Much better sound, says Paulo Thomas Studio. Thanks for the patience. It was a hectic 3 weeks not being able to have you guys hear me properly. It's quite annoying, to be honest with you. Exo Truck says, busy with the hardware investments. I have to do it. I have to interact with all of you, my family. Thank you so much, John Demona. And also, Omnipotent One says, coolest EV is the Bisimoto slant nose. So you guys see me looking back and forth. I have YouTube Live going at the same time as Instagram Live. So I'm trying something a little different, and I think it works. And maybe when I do a Tech Tuesday at the residence where I'm cooking and also doing a live, maybe we can have some fun with that as well. That'd be pretty cool, right? Good evening, Ari Works. I think that's how you say it properly. Thank you so much for joining us, no matter where you are. Yes, the audio is crisp. Thank you, Toki sir. Appreciate that. Cool t-shirt. Yep, air cooled, water cooled, because I do both at Bisimoto. And I guess EVs have a combination of the two. Some components are air cooled, some components are water cooled. And with petrol side, I am on the right track as well. My daughter is starting a channel, says Eddie, your realtor one. Would love to interview you. She loves Porsches and electric cars. I'd be more than happy to oblige. Send me a DM, let's set it up and make it happen. I love kids and I love to be able to influence the future positively. Would you ever build something with a VR6 engine, says VR6 Mark II? Yes, I would, especially if VW is involved. So team, you see me building Porsches, Hondas, Hyundais, Fords. That comes from the relationship I have with the OEMs. And typically when I build a car for the OEMs, when discussions with some Japanese companies as you speak right now, I usually take a lot of pride in being able to do a little bit of old and new. So something new and amazing, something old school and wild. So that being said, VW, if you're listening, I want to do some cool stuff, let me know, and I will make VR6 Mark II's dream come alive. No problem whatsoever. The Honda with some dead sure should be some crazy combo. I agree with you as well, Paulo Thomas Studio, who's a very talented concept artist as well. Brandon from Amber Vault stopped by the other day. Nice chap. We talked EVs and forgot to take pics and stuff. You should have. What a great chat. I think Brandon's going to SEMA this year as well. And Exo Truck, I don't know if you're coming out, but if you do, let's get together. All right. Let's see here. Kavolt says, good thing I asked. I wouldn't have ever thought of resistance values for the BMS software aluminum bus. Yes, because you do have some of that introduced. And with some simple calculations, you can be able to put that in when necessary. If designed properly, you may not have to. You have enough thickness and the distance is not very far from pole to pole, you may be just fine. But if there's any resistance values, the BMS would want to know those values so it can do a good job in balancing the cells in the battery pack itself, you know? What type of engine is in the car behind you, says Alwar Berigal? Well, this engine has a K24Z3 bottom end and a K24Z7 top end. So it's only because I got a very good deal. I think I bought the block for like $200 off of OfferUp, and the head I had in stock. And this thing is amazing. 800 wheel horsepower, over 1,000 crank. And it has that single port on the exhaust that allows me to have a very short PRL manifold with a turbocharger right on top. We're updating the turbo with something really cool from Garrett Motion, which is pretty exciting as well. And the reason why I was talking to Patrick this morning is to get a slight variation design for the exhaust manifold itself, which is something that they really have done a great job in designing. So that's pretty cool indeed, you know? So that being said, Icebug Customs. Hello, Lorenzo. How are you? He said, what's up, fam? Let me know if you need anything. For those of you who know Icebug Customs, Lorenzo's a good guy, good friend. He's done some really great bagging opportunities for us here. There's a Mercedes-Benz for one of my very good friends and neighbor who he bagged with success. Just great guy. And he usually goes to SEMA with almost a dozen cars each year. So hopefully you're doing well for SEMA as well. D-Link Designs. This is crazy. Hold on, guys. I have to show you something. Hold tight. I got to show you guys something from D-Link Designs because It's so weird we're just talking. I'm working on the wagon, and this is from D-Lake Design. This is his turbofan, which is pretty dope. And it's not just aesthetic, it's quite functional. And it does a very good job in wicking away air from the undercarriage of a car. So what I've done on this Civic wagon that's all-wheel drive is what Honda did in British Touring a while back, where they used a rear turbofan, and as it moved, because certain wings were restricted, you couldn't really go crazy with aero, they were able to use these turbofans to evacuate air from the undercarriage of a car to assist with downforce. And I did the same thing. Now you may say, how do you know it's working well, BC, on your wagon? Well, when I run this, especially in damp conditions, you can see streaks of moisture on my 1552 wheels, showing that this thing does work quite well at high speed. So, D-Link, thank you so much for helping our community, our automotive community, in not only having the aesthetic, but also the function that works very well to allow our projects to be better than ever. Really, really appreciate you, brother. I look forward to working with you again in the future with other projects. Lately, history repeating itself when the JDM scene started versus domestics. Yes, Toki Star, that's what we're seeing with EVs. I'm gonna put this back because this is quite viable. I'm putting some new hardware on this so that it can bring nice. My own hardware is gonna kind of beat up. Nothing to do with dealing with hardware I chose in a pinch to get the car ready for the track. All right, okay, let's see here. Hands down the coolest EV, says John Demeter, thank you so much. Is there a way to calculate an ITB runners large with a floor bench using CMM? Is there a way to calculate in ITB the runners large with a floor bench using CFM? I don't quite understand your question, Felix. I think you're asking, is there a way to calculate the runners if it's too large or too small on a floor bench? Yes, you can. The same apparatus that allows you to bolt on a cylinder, let's say you use a standard Superflow, you bolt on the cylinder for the floor bench itself to the head, you can put an ITB on it and see the depression based upon that. If you have a significant depression or if you see a lot of vacuum, you know that the ITB may be too small. The larger you go, of course, the more the head will flow. But also it's a balancing act, because if you're drag racing, of course, like myself, I ran 65 millimeter ITBs per runner on my drag car, but it had no bottom end. If you wanted something that was more road race, more mid-range, maybe cayenne carving, you may want something smaller. So yes, you can do that. But there's something that is equally, if not more important than flow with those ITBs, and it's runner length, where you try and capture certain harmonics. I shoot for the second harmonic. I have my own algorithm that allows me to calculate the perfect intake length from the valve head to the end of the velocity stack. But there are also some very nice calculators out there online that can allow you to capture that second harmonic. And if you don't have enough space in your engine bay to do that, you can go to third harmonic. Each harmonic gets weaker and weaker as you go up in value. But the beautiful thing is that it allows you to enhance a certain RPM. Usually it's a narrow band, maybe about 3,000 span, where it gives you the most. So I tend to focus on the RPM band that's best for me in racing and calculating my length based upon that. Hopefully that helps you indeed. And thanks for asking a question on YouTube Live. Just remember, kids, says D-Link, people driving horse and carriage complain about those automobiles. They did. As a matter of fact, I read stories about when the horse and carriage was a thing and automobiles came out. People complain like, oh my God, what do I do with my horses? Oh, automobiles are gonna kill people. Automobiles are not good for the environment. What about all the manure we create? What about all the horse stable businesses? It was just crazy, right? And we're seeing the same thing with EVs. But I'm just saying, guys, I was there. I was really quite naughty. I was really vocally against EVs. And I still am if EVs involve something that's just an appliance and slow and just a means of transportation. It doesn't interest me at all. I like the performance aspect of electric motors. I think they're great. I've always loved all motor natural aspirated. This is even more of an all motor setup. I just love it. It's freaking fat, guys. Okay, I talked about this months ago, right? Years ago even, about how crazy is it that if I want to build a low 9-second, high 8-second streetcar, first, it wouldn't be legal. Secondly, it would cost me way more than $120,000, $130,000 to build. And I couldn't even do it on street tires. I may have to use slicks. Well, guess what? A Model S Plaid is barely 6 figures. I think they just had a price cut a couple weeks ago. You can get them used for $80,000, $90,000. It runs low nice bone stock and stock trim. And I've done some upgrades to mine with some lightweight tires from Toyo, lightweight wheels from Unplugged. Did some suspension modifications from Unplugged as well. Just very small tweaks. My time is getting faster and faster and faster. And you can mess around in full street trim and run a high 8. Something that I didn't even do publicly on my own race car Insight. My race Insight ran on alcohol, it was on slicks, could barely make it to the starting line. This thing, when I raced it, and you can watch videos after, when I raced my Plaid, I drove to the track, raced, and drove home, and didn't lose. I think I've done 15 drag races so far, and I lost to one Camaro that was full-blown dragster. Full-blown drag car, parachute, cage, net. I think he had 33 in slicks. He was just, that's the only thing I loved. And I lost him by a fender, right? Everyone else, I blew away. People are talking crap to me. A lot of domestic guys talking crap. A lot of kids love it. Oh my God, Tesla, that's cool. But people talk crap and they'll get online. No one even wants to race me. And I'm telling you, that is the future. It's happening. We should embrace it instead of speaking ill. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And speaking of my friends from Unplugged, I want to announce something, guys. I like these guys a lot. They really thought differently from the things I do. I tend to go inside and tear things apart. This company has done a great job in some really great bolt-on performance opportunities. And I went to them to buy a lowering kit and some other accoutrements to really enhance my Tesla. And we just hit it off very nicely. From Brendan to Avi to Ben Schaefer, all these guys. Many of them are hardcore Honda enthusiasts that got into the EV space. And I'm proud to announce that we're going to have a partnership moving forward where we're going to really partner in race performance parts. I'm getting back into drag racing, using that as my go-to vehicle, my platform. And just like I did with the single cam stuff and came up with great concepts and shared with all of you, I'm going to be doing the same thing with Unplugged and sharing with the world as well. So look forward to some great things moving forward. My Plaid in its new form is going to be launched at the Electrify Expo in Miami this coming weekend. So if you're on the East Coast, especially in the Miami area, please come by. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll be on display in the Toyo Tires booth. I'll be there myself to interact with all of you. And after that, it's just gonna be just crazy. I'm gonna show some really cool pictures. I don't know if my good friend NAB, Nicholas, is here, but he helped with some rendering design on that and we brought it to life. It looks cool. And the great thing is that the car is street legal. How awesome is that, right? So I'm pretty excited to share that partnership. And thank you so much, Unplugged Performance, for being there for me. We're gonna have some fun and do some wonderful things and help people get faster, better, and safer, which is pretty good. Why is the octane level here in California so low compared to other states and some countries? Now, that's a very, very good question, Moto. A smashing question. For me to answer that properly, we have to look at how octane ratings are defined. If you look at the pump, and that's where there's a slight misunderstanding here. If you look at your pump and you see 93 or 92 octane or 87 or 89, you see on a yellow sticker a designation that says R plus M divided by 2. That's research plus motor divided by 2. So they're taking a research octane rating, which is done in a lab in a controlled environment where there's standard temperatures and pressures. And typically when you're in a controlled environment, you can get away with burning a fuel in an engine and pushing the envelope without getting a lot of knock. So that number, that octane number, which is a number that is like an anti-knock property number, the higher that number, the less opportunity for the fuel to pre-ignite. That number is much higher in a closed lab environment. Then you have motor octane, which is real world, forget my language, balls to the wall setup, where they really push the engine in really stringent conditions and or challenging conditions, and hence the octane rating number from that is lower. And to make things very, how should I say, fair, they average out those two, the lab and the real world divided by 2, and that's why you get 87, 89. Now here's what gets interesting. In Europe, what they show at the pump is only research octane. So they have RON, research octane number, they don't look at the motor octane number, and hence, what you may see as a 98 octane, like, wait a minute, I'm in the UK, it's 98 octane, this is awesome. No. That 98 octane that is showing is research number only, and when combined with a motor octane, could be as low as 90. So maybe even be lower than what we see here. State to state is the whole different story, and we can get into that a little bit later. But I want to be able to show you that, especially with places in Europe, the numbers you're looking at are not the same. Research octane numbers are much higher than R plus M divided by 2. So hopefully, Arctic Motor, that gives you some insight, and hopefully I answer your question properly, you know? You need to borrow an extra truck for SEMA. Extra truck, I am slammed for SEMA. I don't have any space. I actually have 2 more cars I'm trying to get in. So unfortunately, I won't be able to help you this year. I will visit you in Siena, Awa, Berigao, where you will see me kind of moving around quite a few areas. I'll be at the Future Tech, which is like a North Hall, like semi-electrified where that was. I will be at the Toyo Trespass, which is like Mecca place to be. I'll also be wandering quite a bit around the Hastings booth. They make piston rings for those of you gearheads out there who build your own engines. You're familiar with the brand. And then I may, jump around a little bit to the guys at Momo and from ARP and some of my partners. But if you watch my lives, you'll be able to know. And I'll have Tech Tuesday, definitely at Future Tech at SEMA. I also have a very nice car in what's that called? I guess like SEMA Central, the place where people do a lot of filming and videography. I should have something very elegant on a pedestal there, which is pretty exciting indeed, Mr. Zero Lag says, hi, good sir, hope you're doing well. Yes, I am. Are you still delving in the D-Series platform? Yes, we still sell a lot of D-Series parts here at Bisimoto. With the camshafts, valve train, clutches, we do. So when in doubt, if you something on the website we don't have and you want it, just send us an email, sales@bisimoto.com, and we'll be there and make it happy for you. TC says here on YouTube, because I'm doing YouTube live as I'm interacting with all of you, I was anti-EV for so many years, but as of the past couple of years, the tech is undeniable. Just like you said, 9 seconds out the box. You're absolutely correct, TC, and I appreciate that. You're 100% correct. That is what's happening, and we should really embrace technology. I mean, think about it. Even the petrol side, think about what we did in terms of going from carburation to fuel injection, and then from standard port injection to the high pressure direct injection. All these things have advantages and allowed us the opportunity to go faster and faster and cleaner and cleaner. And now, look at these strides in EV technology. By the way, petrol, even though EVs were first, and Jalino loves saying this, EVs were first when it came to propulsion of automobiles, very quickly petrol took over and had a 100-year head start. And now, in this short period of time, things are getting better. Battery technology is getting better by the month. Very soon, we'll be doing a lot of solid-state battery tech that is just amazing, where runaway will be a thing of the past, where using exotic rare materials will be a thing of the past, where we'll have batteries that are lighter and more energy and power dense. It's just a win-win. It's just a win-win, You should come to V2 Lab at Orlando Speed World. Tell me more about that place. I'm not familiar with that facility. Please do. Love your work, says Even Almighty. Please keep going. I want to build a car with you one day. And I look forward to working with you, Ivan, and hopefully exceeding your expectations. Any new projects or a secret? There's a project right here next to me, and another one you can kind of see the tail. Those are new and quite secretive, but I will let you know very soon. Something's going on with my system here in terms of my podcast networks. So I may try and start again and see what happens. Will you be a vendor or your own booth at SEMA, says Team No Haven? Neither. What I will have are quite a few cars that will be displayed in the booth. So just to let you know the logistics of where I have cars as we speak, like set up properly. SEMA Central, which is that wonderful place that exists between the North and Central Hall. There's that walking area where they do a lot of interviews and television shows. I'll have a very nice car on a pedestal there. In Future Tech, which I'm so proud to be part of, or future technology in terms of mobility, parts, and performance enhancements, I will have a vehicle front and center there as well. At the Hastings ring booth, for those of you petrol heads, we'll have a very nice, exciting project there as well, which will be quite exciting and quite interesting and something you would expect from the Bisimoto, how should I say, stable. So me having a booth, I will not, but I'll be running around quite a bit. And I'll be there the entire week. You look like you lost weight, says Jessica. Thanks, son. No, okay guys, just because I'm trying to start something. I am actually trying something, an experiment where I'm consuming. So yeah, you may see some changes in my appearance soon. in a good thing. So I'm just changing my diet a little bit, but it's an experiment, so we'll see what happens. As I get success and make sure that's proper, I will let you guys know, and maybe you can try it with success as well. Is that hole in the hood new, or am I starting to forget the details about this car? So that is new. So for a long time, this wagon had no hood whatsoever. So you remember this from AEM intakes? So what that does is this. So you see how it just closes and has an aperture where my turbocharger can get nice air? So that's what the hole in the hood is for. So I don't know if you can see that properly. It just feeds the, let me see if I can show. Forgive me, those of you on YouTube. So you see that? It's just a box that shows the intake, gives the intake air, an aperture, an opportunity to breathe. So that's what it's about. Let me open it up, so I think it looks much nicer sans hood. And there we go. So I hope that helps answer your question properly. How did you make your scale business, how did you make your scale business profitable? By putting really together projects and business opportunities that solve problems. The only way to make something profitable is if you have a problem to solve, whether it's one that is inherently obvious to the marketplace or one that the marketplace is not aware of. It needs to happen. So even 4 years back, I'm known for single cam opportunities, right? Because I was a student, couldn't afford to go twin cam, B series or H series. So there was this, I found out there was this opportunity where a lot of D series single cam guys wanted to have fun and go fast without breaking the bank. So I created products that allowed you to go fast, that were rooted properly in scientific prowess, that was scientifically sound and very reliable, and people paid for it. And that made a profit. Of course, you want to have the opportunity to have enough money to cover your expenses, take care of your staffing and needs, and also have the opportunity to be able to produce a product where it doesn't break the bank for those clients. So solving a problem, invoking that opportunity for emotion, creates the opportunity for you to do well and have profitable businesses. And just by staying focused and not losing sight of the goal is what allowed me to do well. And that's despite people talking crap to me. I had a lot of haters, people saying that it's stupid, some kinds of garbage, it's not the way to go. I had naysayers, competitors who said I was making things up, that my data wasn't sound until they tested themselves, like, oh my God, this is amazing stuff. And I took that same mindset and got into the Porsche world, got into OEM business, and also now into EVs. So it's been good, you know? Did I hear you finally test something with the LS, says ITB Kevin? Yep, you heard it, sir. A C6 Corvette going to SEMA is going to be pretty good, you know? Are you going to get your hands on an Ioniq N? I really want to. And for those of you who know what an Ioniq N is, you may have seen the Ioniq 5, the standard kind of boxy EV from Hyundai, where there's an all-wheel drive version that is absolutely amazing. 600 plus horsepower. Only one thing I'm not too hot about is it does have the ability to generate a synthetic noise. I like the natural noise from electric motors. I even like amplifying it if I can for the occupants and those around. But I'm not a huge fan of artificial noise. But anyway, this thing is amazing. It's almost like Hyundai's answer to a Tesla Model N, a Tesla Model 3 performance or a Model Y performance, but looks much cooler. So yeah, by all means. Let's build a Bisimoto booth for SEMA. It may be too late now. So that being said, it wouldn't quite be possible. Joseph says, I think, Joseph, how you say it? Matuzak says, I think the current hybrid tech that Honda and Mazda are utilizing, where the IC is producing energy on demand and storing and using immediately through electric motors or capacitors. I think the current hybrid tech that Honda, I don't know if it's a question or a statement. In the very back corner there, I don't know, you guys can, maybe you can see it. No, you can't see it. A little bit, maybe under that gray car, as you can see the gray Porsche right there. Right there is my first CRZ hybrid that we built for American Honda in 2010. And that utilizes an integrated motor assist or IMA setup, where there's this device that's a generator and absorption unit that exists between the crankshaft and the transmission. And when you're driving, it acts as a generator of, where it can generate energy to help propel the petrol engine forward or help with transmission. It just helps with moving the vehicle forward using electrical motors as an assist. And then upon decel, upon cruising, or whatever the case may be, it acts as this absorption, where it can absorb energy and put it back into the batteries, the DC batteries in the rear. So if that's what you're speaking of, yes, that is something that has been working quite well. But there is a push for zero emission vehicles. It seems to be the hot thing. Companies like Tesla have done a great job in creating such demand for it. Everyone's jumping in on that, trying to get in on the action. Some companies are being successful, others are not. And for us, it's really opened up to a wonderful opportunity for almost like a coach works, environment. Like what you may have seen in Europe, about 50, 60, 70 years ago, where all these small companies can exist and create create automobiles that are using, different type of technologies and making things that are very beautiful. And now, because of electric motors and how compact they can be and how they are packaged, it allows for a lot more better design language without having to worry about hood height and stuff like that. So we will very soon get into an era where cars can become beautiful again. So I'm pretty excited about that. Also, I'm excited about really focusing on cars like this red 930, that have historical significance, keeping them on the road and making them even faster than ever, and being able to appreciate the opportunity to combine classic beauty and modern technology, which I think is pretty good, Have you ever considered using kinetic energy storage? Kinetic energy? So potential energy is energy due to position, where if it's high, kinetic energy is energy due to motion. So your question, Diesel Jesus, can be quite broad. Using kinetic energy storage, are you talking about using storage where a device is a pendulum? Are you talking about what already happens with EVs we build here, where we use regen, taking advantage of kinetic energy and bringing a vehicle to a stop and storing that back in batteries? Please allow me. Flywheel storage? Oh, like curves, like what they do in Formula One, where they use a rotating flywheel and absorb and come down. We are doing something already quite similar, but instead of using a flywheel as a storage device, we're using the entire automobile in motion and bringing that to a stop or slowing down as a way to put energy back into batteries. So to answer your question, yes and no. No, that not exactly with flywheels, but yes, in terms of using regen. The vehicles that I build here, we go as high as 75 kilowatts of regen energy to allow you to stop. And the beauty of that, as I shared with the owner of this car yesterday, is that it makes your brakes last much longer, maybe even for the entire life of the vehicle, which is pretty exciting indeed, right? What project are you working on currently? It says smoke brake. I have a 930 that we're converting there. I have another silver 930 that we're converting there. I have a unique full carbon fiber monocoque vehicle that we're converting as well. I have a UK vehicle right here next to me that we're converting. Another UK vehicle right there, which is a Caterham, that also in the process of converting as we speak. Above and beyond that, we have SEMA cars that are getting ready to be launched in the next 3 weeks. A petrol Corvette C6 turbocharger, and also some touches to the Moby 935, the wide, crazy, black, huge Moby Dick that we built for last year. We're having some nice touches and upgrades, and it's going back to SEMA, including a beautiful 1965 Type 1 VW bus that is terrifying to drive because it makes 450 horsepower and more, how should I say, torque than we shake a stick at, which is pretty nice indeed. That red 930, DH Jones, you love it. It's wrapped in this lovely plastic to maintain and not get scratched. That thing is gorgeous. I don't know who painted Jeremy's car. They did a smashing job. This car looks concourse ready. I'm not exaggerating, guys. It is absolutely beautiful, Diesel Jesus is asking, have I worked with any VR6 engines? Yeah, we just spoke about that a moment ago earlier in our interaction, but no, I have not had the opportunity to do that. But if VW comes on board, like I typically do with a lot of manufacturers, yes, I will definitely do that without qualm. I think the Plaids new are now $89K. XO truck, I wouldn't be surprised. So imagine that, $90,000 for a low 9-second car. The one thing that I don't like, and that's why you see them so many times in auctions being crashed, is that on one hand, if you're to buy a 5th gen Viper, insurance companies won't even insure you unless you take some kind of safety class, or in my case, I had an NHRA license, so I was able to get around it. Some type of driving capabilities or certification. But then you have a Plaid, which is much faster and can be quite dangerous because that thing is freaking fast. And you can just buy it and insure it, no problem. I think that I think people should take classes to drive a Plaid. It's just really that fast. It's really that terrifying. So it's pretty cool. Ken Carburetor 2, they are over 20 years apart. Well, it doesn't matter, Kevin, I appreciate that, but on the same token, there are new petrol cars that still don't do that till today. Even one of the cars that raced at Irwindale last week was a Demon, a modified Demon. And I think that's the video I showed. You can see that I spanked it quite well. It's quite nice. On street tires, and he will slick down. Thank you so much, Awar Berigal. I appreciate your kind words and you being here. Twisted Images 909. Hello, Rico. For those of you who know Rico, he's local in Highland area, does all my graphic work here. When you see any stickers on my car, he's the one who does it. He's just a great guy indeed, you know? That's the fun of things, says Dad Savagery. We all learn things, and he's correct. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this. We've been here for like 44 minutes, and I appreciate all of you joining me on this Tech Tuesday. For those of you on YouTube, thank you so much for joining me on this YouTube opportunity as well. I'll be doing this. It looks like you guys liked it. I see some great questions coming from you guys. I'll get to most of them next week as well. I should be out of state next week, but I'll still make sure that we're here. Hello, Uncle Elmer. Good seeing you as I sign off. And this will be indefinitely here on Instagram and on YouTube. And if you don't follow me, please do so. NAB, this visual design. Nicholas, I appreciate all your expertise and your creativity. He is my Bombay graphic artist. And so, Nicholas, what you create, my friend Rico brings to life with his stickers, which is pretty nice. So, thank you, CBatch510. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Thanks for the kind words, Joseph. Appreciate that. And Diesel Jesus, thank you so much. Or Diesel Jesus, how do you say it? Take care, everyone. Stay safe and cheers.